Welcome back to the program. So, first and foremost, I want to talk about two things tonight. We're going to do two segments. The first one is going to be all on what's going on with Iran, and then we're going to get into the SAVE Act and the latest developments on that in the second segment. But first, let's talk about what's going on with Iran. So, today we have found that the United States and Israel has granted temporary immunity to two high-level targets that were on Israel's assassination list. One of them is the foreign minister, the person that they are now negotiating with. And, of course, the other one is the Abachi guy, or what's his name? Abbas Aragachi, who is really an evil, evil bastard, parliament speaker as well, and the foreign minister. So they have been given, quote, temporary immunity from death or from being targeted. So I wanted to point that out. Now, the next thing is this. President Trump has said that Iran has, quote, given the United States a significant prize, but he won't say what that prize is. U.S. President Donald Trump said Iran had given the United States a significant prize worth a, quote, tremendous amount of money, adding that it was related to the Straits of Hormuz. They did something yesterday, this is the president, that was absolutely amazing. Actually, they gave us a present, and the present arrived today, and it was a very big present, worth a tremendous amount of money, he told reporters in the Oval Office on Tuesday. I'm not at liberty to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize, and they gave it to us. So that meant, to me, one thing, that we're dealing with the right people to negotiate with, end quote. It wasn't a nuclear-related deal when pressed a little further, and he said that it, quote, was oil and gas related. And it was also a very nice thing that they did, is what he said. Okay? Then he goes on to say this. We're talking to, quote, the right people in Iran right now to make a deal. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday, the United States is, quote, talking to the, quote, right people in Iran to reach an agreement to end the hostilities. We're talking to the right people. They want to make a deal with us. Now, of course, there was conflicting stories where the Iranians came out and said that no one from Washington has reached out to them and that they're not willing to negotiate. But, of course, President Trump is saying the exact opposite. Iranian officials and commentators are increasingly portraying control of the Straits of Hormuz not just as a strategic advantage, but as a financial asset that could help offset the costs of the war. Now, we don't know what this, quote, prize is, but what we do know is that the person that he's supposedly negotiating with has also threatened to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. As a matter of fact, they just got a big fee for allowing a couple of Iranian boats to go through the area. They paid a big fee for that. So they're not allowing anyone coming in, U.S. or Israeli, right? So this is all very, very peculiar. Now, the other thing that I found very interesting was the fact that we have now heard that the United Arab Emirates, as well as the Saudis, are putting together the final touches, or whatever you want to call it, to enter into the war as well. So it's very interesting, everything that's happening. Now, when you put it on its surface, you got to say to yourself, why? Why aren't we going to finish off this regime? Why are we negotiating with them? These are bloodthirsty killers. Just like with Democrats. You don't negotiate with Democrats, and you don't negotiate with terrorists. A terrorist you don't negotiate with because they're crazy and they're going to lie to you, and you don't negotiate with Democrats for the same reason. So you eliminate terrorists and you eliminate Democrats by getting rid of the filibuster, because you can't trust them at their word. All they want to do is negotiate, and they want to act in good faith. But in reality, they're not acting in good faith. They don't want anything that's going to secure this country. They certainly want the ability to cheat. And I know I'm kind of mixing and going into two different subjects, but I'm pointing that out because you can't negotiate with these terrorists. So my question now is, why? Why would President Trump all of a sudden do a 180 and talk about how he's looking for a deal? They're calling him, he's not calling them. They want to make a deal. They promise this, they promise that, right? All these different things that they're talking about. Now, some of the quote demands that the Iranians have said is they want full concessions on their military program. They don't want any restrictions on anything. They want compensation for the bombing. This is how crazy they are, okay? And we have basically told them, no, we're not planning on doing that. So something is amiss, right? Something is not adding up. And the more I think about it, here's what's going on. I think there's a bunch of shadow diplomacy happening right about now. Think about it. Iran wants to make a deal. Now the Iranians say, we never said that. President Trump says, yes, you did. What about the fact now that we're sending in the 31st Expeditionary Unit? These are some of the most skilled Marines in the world. What about the fact that the 82nd Airborne Paratroopers Division is on its way in? 2,200 of them, 3,000 of the Marines. Not to mention the USS Tripoli amphibious assault fleet is also on its way into the area. But yet the president is talking about peace. He's talking about deals. He's talking about working with this regime. Shadow diplomacy is happening, folks. Let me explain, okay? Right now, this regime is in hiding. They're fearing for their lives, whoever's left. They're in caves, they're underground, wherever they are, okay? And they fear assassination. They're also paranoid. And why are they paranoid? Well, because they've seen how many people have been killed that they knew very well that were their comrades, right? So now all of a sudden, with the paranoia and no leadership, this is a rudderless leadership regime, okay? The cardboard guy is probably not even alive, all right? And if he is, it doesn't matter. So he's not really in charge. So who's in charge? Well, the answer is America doesn't really know, and Iran won't tell us. So in reality, what's happening here? What President Trump is doing, in my opinion, is he's creating shadow diplomacy. He's now making the Iranians that are left wonder, who's talking to Washington? Who can we trust? What's going on here? Can we trust this guy? Is he working with Mossad? Is this guy over here working with the IDF? What President Trump is doing is he is dismantling the regime and giving them false hope and promises that he's going to negotiate with them in good faith. Clearly he's not. If he was, we wouldn't be having the Marines coming in, the paratroopers coming in, the amphibious assault units coming in. Okay? Thousands and thousands of boots on the ground type of soldiers are coming in to the Middle East. Saudi Arabia has already said that they're planning on joining this fight. United Arab Emirates has said the same thing. The Saudi prince today said President Trump needs to finish off this regime. So what's happening, in my opinion, is they're doing exactly what they did on February 28th. They are pretending that they are in good faith going to negotiate, knowing they can't negotiate, but they want the Iranian regime to think that they can. They want them to have a false sense of security. We'll take you off of the assassination list. Thank you so much for that wonderful present that they probably didn't give. Do you get it now? This is 5D chess by the President of the United States. And these throat slitters in dirty nightshirts are playing checkers, okay? And what happened on February 28th, they were having a meeting, final touches, about a nuclear bomb, right? And what happened? They fooled them. They thought, well, they're going to attack us in the middle of the night like they did in Venezuela. And what happened? No, they found out that that meeting was there. And then once they did, they had to act quickly. They knew everyone was going to be there, and they did it during the morning. And again, it caught them by surprise. So in my opinion, again, my opinion, just using my brain here, this looks like a campaign of shadow diplomacy to figure out who the bad guys are that are left so that you can target them for elimination. And then at that point, at some point, you're going to have to figure out who you can actually trust that is part of the opposition. And you're going to have to arm that opposition. Other countries in the area are going to have to arm that opposition as well. And that is how, in my opinion, this war is going to end. Because what happened the other day reset the entire world's outlook on the Iranian regime. They thought, maybe they were told, maybe they were bought, maybe they were, lied to, whatever, it doesn't matter. But they were told that Iran's missiles can only go a certain amount of distance, 1,500 miles, maybe 2,000 max. Well, guess what? They went 2,500 when they attacked Diego Garcia base in the UK. That changed everything. It changed everything because now Europe understands that they're a sitting duck, okay? And as a sitting duck, now all of a sudden they're bringing in their ships. Now all of a sudden they want to help us out with the Straits of Hormuz because they understand that they are defenseless. And once again, America's going to have to bail everybody out. That's just the way it is. That's why we're the only superpower, and that's why we have to remain the only superpower. So as I've been saying all along, there's no question that there's going to be boots on the ground. The question is, how many of those are going to be American? How many of those are going to be IDF? How many of those are going to be other countries and other coalitions? I don't know. But what I do know is this is not going to turn into another Iraq or Afghanistan because this president is smart. This president understands what he's doing, number one. And number two, they have a plan. They've had a plan from the beginning. Now, to the media, to the left, to the Democrats, perhaps it's designed to look scatterbrained. Perhaps it's to look like there's no plan so that those prostitutes in the media, can go tell everybody, well, Trump doesn't have a plan. They didn't plan this thing out. They don't know what they're doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He is playing the greatest game of shadow diplomacy we have ever witnessed, in my opinion. And the only way we're going to find out if I'm right is in due time. And I believe we will. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.